Hi everyone, I'm Susan. I help out with Nexus on Wednesdays. Earlier this week, Katrina asked me to do a baking lesson video to put on the youth group social media site. She knows I like to bake, and I do. Today I'm going to be making some brownies. Now, to give you a little background, I bought this house in '97. Yeah, I know, you weren't born in '97. Actually, were Kiefer and Katrina even born yet in '97? If they were pretty small. Anyway, I bought the house in 1997, and ever since, my neighbors have been Beth and Al. They have lived in this neighborhood about 30 years. Actually, their house was the first house built in the neighborhood. Now, to give you a little background on Al, he celebrated his birthday 2 weeks ago. So I made him an 8-inch chocolate cake with a chocolate mocha frosting. He told me later that he ate that in 4 days. Now, Al was celebrating his 96th birthday. Yeah, you heard me, 96. The man still mows his own yard. He has a 0-turn radius mower and spends 2 hours every week mowing his own yard. So I think when you're 96 years old and you still mow your own yard, you can eat all the chocolate cake that you want. So he loves his sweet treats, but so does Beth, his wife. Beth is mid to late 80s. Their birthdays are 2 weeks apart. So today I'm going to be making brownies for Miss Beth. She asked for brownies with walnuts, but no frosting. So that's what I'm going to be doing today during the baking lesson, is making Beth's brownies for her birthday treat. So I will get the ingredients out and then we'll get cracking. That was a joke, kind of like cracking eggs. Well, I thought it was funny. Anyway, I'll get the stuff ready in the kitchen and I'll meet you there to mix up some brownies. Hey, as promised, we're back. We're in my kitchen. Back there is my dining room. That is kindergarten remote learning central right now. I've got all the stuff from school in my dining room to videotape my lessons for kindergarten.
Well, I've got news for you. You're mine now. You belong to me.
So you can probably see the cords and the storage boxes back there. So yeah, that's kindergarten remote central. This is my kitchen, and we'll get started making brownies. Now, I have to tell you, I have never made this brownie recipe before. What can I say? I like living on the edge.
I also like to live dangerously.
So this is a brand new recipe for me. I chose it though because it's pretty easy and it's quick and it's made with stuff that you probably have in your house even during a pandemic. It's easy also because instead of melting chocolate.
Did you say chocolate?
Usually with brownies, you have to melt chocolate.
Sweet chocolate.
Like baking chocolate squares. And then you pour the melted chocolate into the batter. This doesn't have anything to do with melted chocolate. Instead of melted chocolate, use cocoa powder. So that's another reason that it's quick and easy. You don't have that step of melting chocolate.
Chocolate!
So to start off, you would preheat your oven to 350. I am not preheating my oven right now because if you saw the setup in my kitchen, you would see that I have 2 wicker baskets sitting on top of my stove, and then I have my Chromebook on top of my the baskets. So all of that is sitting on my stove, so I don't really want to turn my oven on when I have all that stuff. But you would preheat your oven to 350. If you're using a glass pan, you might want to knock it down to about 325. So after you do that, you get your pan. I like my nice aluminum pan. It's by a company called Dough Makers, and you can see it kind of has these little ridges and all. I don't know why it works really well, but it does. So I like these. Maybe I should get Dough Makers to sponsor this video. Anyway, the first thing you want to do is butter. I melted 2 sticks of butter. That's a cup of butter. I melted 2 sticks of butter. I set them out last night so they get soft and they'd be easy to melt. So I just saved the wrappers, and I'm going to butter and grease my pan with those wrappers.
It's ninja rap, ninja rap.
And I like using butter instead of the spray. The sprays, because I find sometimes those sprays leave kind of a sticky residue on my pans that's kind of hard to get off, especially if you're using aluminum. Glass, it's a little bit easier to clean off, but I like doing that. So I've got my pan all greased, all nice and greased, so hopefully they'll come out without too much trouble. I keep a bag when I cook to throw stuff in like that because I'm kind of lazy when it comes to cleaning up.
Lazy Sunday, bruh.
I try to make cleanup as easy as I can. Really, in my perfect world, I would be able to come into my kitchen and bake and cook, and then somebody else would do all the cleanup. So that would be my perfect world. Maybe that's what it will be like in heaven. Oh, maybe in heaven I'll get to make a mess in the kitchen and somebody else will clean it up. Yeah, who knows? Could be. All right, I'll just choose to believe that. So I've got my mixing bowl. First thing I want to do is add my cup of melted butter. Yeah, it's a lot of butter, but you need fat along with that flour in the brownies, so that's the fat. All right, so I've got my cup of melted butter. Next thing, you can't make brownies without sugar. If you're using cocoa powder especially, they're gonna be real bitter unless you have sugar. So we've got 2 cups of sugar and a 1/2 cup of cocoa powder. All right, so I'm gonna grab a whisk, and while I'm in this drawer, I'm going to get out a spoon and a spatula. Okay, well, and my tea strainer is caught in my whisk. I don't know how in the world that happened.
The world may never know.
Look at this. Okay. I was using my tea strainer as an example of a sphere to teach my kindergartners 3D shapes in one of the video lessons. So anyway, somehow it got caught in my whisk. So I'm gonna put the pan over here for right now. I'm gonna whisk, the chocolate. All right, now we get to add the rest of all the good stuff. Okay, next, a teaspoon of vanilla. My hands are greasy from the butter. All right, hold on just a minute. I gotta go wipe my hands off so I can open the vanilla. All right, there we go. My hands were greasy from buttering the pan. Okay, we've got a teaspoon of vanilla. So we're gonna be adding that into our chocolate mixture. And we've got 1/2 teaspoon of salt. When I bake, I like to use kosher salt. It still gives you all the benefits of salt, like brings out the flavor of stuff, but it's just a little bit softer than regular salt. I buy it, it's really kind of big granules, and then I grind it up in a spice grinder. So we got 1/2 teaspoon of salt and 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder. Now baking powder is usually in the can, baking soda is the box. So we've got half a teaspoon of baking powder. All right, we've added our baking powder, our salt. We've got 4 eggs. Eggs. That we need to add. Now, just a little note on egg. So when you crack an egg, don't do it on the side of the bowl, because when you do that, it pushes some of the eggshell inside the egg, and then you have to fish it out. So I like to do it on the table instead, or the countertop instead. So there's 1 and 4, and we did not get any shells in the batter. Good going. All right. Now you do want to wipe up the counter after you do that. We don't want to get salmonella poisoning. So I'm going to wipe that up just really quickly. Okay. And the last thing that we need to do before we add the walnuts is the flour. And it takes 1.5 cups of flour. And I'm kind of lazy when it comes to sifting flour.
It's lazy Sunday.
I just kind of, scoop and just kind of lighten it up like this. And it's going to be fine. You don't have to sift it. So I've got 1 cup of flour. And grab my 1/2 cup. If you want chewier, more dense brownies, only put in 1 cup of flour. The more flour, the more cake-like they'll be. If you want more chewy and dense, don't put as much flour in. Okay, so lighten that up a little bit. All right, put that in. And now we stir all this chocolatey goodness together. Okay, there's our brownie batter. Now, Miss Beth wanted walnuts in her brownie batter. So I'm gonna clear this off a little bit, and probably it's gonna be the most fun part is actually chopping the walnuts. I'll show you what I mean. I'm gonna clear this off a bit, get some walnuts, and show you how I like to chop walnuts. Okay, we are back. I've cleared off things a little bit, and now we're ready to add the walnuts. Some people, and it's totally fine, like to use a big old knife.
That's not a knife. That's a knife.
To do their chopping with a cutting board. I have another method I like a little bit better. It is not only more fun, but it's also a way to work out some frustrations. I have my walnuts in a plastic bag, and I got my rolling pin. So if you have some frustrations about something, hey, this is your ticket to work out some of those frustrations. So maybe you're frustrated about all the e-learning. Maybe you're frustrated about the school year coming to an end. Suddenly, especially if you're a senior, maybe you're frustrated that you can't see your friends. And there we go, chopped walnuts. All right, so I'm gonna add these chopped walnuts to the batter. Now, you do not have to put walnuts in. Miss Beth asked for walnuts. If you want, you could put chocolate chips, you could put chocolate chunks, you could even maybe put peanut butter chips in there if you want kind of a chocolate peanut butter brownie. Or you don't have to put anything at all. So I'm gonna add Miss Beth's walnuts in there that we just chopped, and I'm gonna fold them in. As I said before, you do not want to overmix your brownie batter or you're gonna get tough, hard brownies.
How tough are you?
So I'm just gonna kind of fold them in. All right, that looks pretty good. All right, now the batter goes in the pan. Okay, can I say that brownie batter is just like happiness in a bowl? I mean, really. All right, so we want to get all of it. So I'm gonna get my spatula out. All right, so Spread this out in your pan. Okay, so now I really am going to preheat my oven after I take the baskets and the Chromebook off my stove. I'll preheat my oven. These go in the oven for, let me check the recipe. I've never made these, 20 to 30 minutes. I'm gonna test them with a toothpick. When I test them, I want the toothpick to come out clean. Or with just a few crumbs. If the toothpick comes out wet, that means they're still too doughy. So about 20 or 30 minutes, and then when they're out of the oven and cooled, I'll cut them, and then we'll deliver them to Al. Okay, so the brownies are cooled.
Cool.
I've got them cut. I put them on plates so Beth and Al would not have a dish or a plate to bring back. Just called Al, so he should be hot trotting across the yard pretty soon. He usually comes pretty soon for his sweet treats. Hey, Al. I got some brownies for you. This time you won't have a plate to return.
Throw away plate.
Yeah, you don't have to return these plates. I put them on a paper plate. So there you go.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, now those are for Beth's birthday, so make sure you share them with her.
Okay.
Yeah. So now, Al, before you take your brownies back, do you have any words of wisdom as far as how to stay young?
Go to bed, sleep tight. And let's see. What is it that? Say your prayers religiously. Go to Sunday school and church. And be a good kid.
Okay, all right. Well, you heard it from Al, and on that, this baking lesson is over. Bye.
Bye-bye.